talking.
I didn't realise that you were live streaming.
Yeah, we're just going live now.
We're talking about business on the agenda though, so it's all good stuff.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, that's not a problem. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for hi and welcome to the Waipuna Halswell-Hornby-Riccarton Community Board. And just to remind everybody that this meeting is being live streamed. So we do have an apology from Catherine Chu for late arrival, and if at all. And we've also got one from Anne Galloway with some, and Gamal is on. Everybody else is on by Zoom. So you're moving that, Mark Peters, seconded by Andre Moore.
Yep.
All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any carried. Declarations of interest. Is there an agenda item today that anybody wishes to declare an interest in? If so, say so now. No. Well done. We're moving on then to information of our previous minutes on the 2nd of August. There was one matter raised, but it's been since corrected. So would somebody like to move that they be taken as a true and correct record of our previous meeting on the 2nd of August? Be moved by Mark Peters, seconded by Helen Broughton. Is there any discussion? And I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Is there any carried? Moving on then now to the public forum. Have we got anybody in the public forum?
Sally Chang.
Sally?
Aye.
Sally, would you like to, Sally Ching, would you like, you're the motel owner? Yes, so would you like to come and talk to us about your problem?
Yes.
Come and sit down at the table, Sally.
Sally's got a presentation.
Sally's got a presentation I've just become aware of. So, yes, we're in your hands. Thank you.
Thank you. So I'm Sally Ching and the owner of 306 Motel Apartments in Riccarton, situated about 50 metres down towards Bush Inn from this intersection. I took over the motel in January 2020, so I've dealt with COVID and about 18 months of City Council disruptions because of the intersection. My health has deteriorated, and I'll go further into why. I do have epilepsy, which was well under control, and now, from all of this stress, it is back. I've had my driver's licence taken off me, and the doctor's opinion is it is totally from stress that it has come back. Throughout the time that I've been trying to communicate with the staff, I've gone from the project manager right up to Stephen Wright and Lynette Ellis. For the majority of the time, it was very difficult to get responses to my emails without constant reminders. There were promises made that weren't carried out and constant apologies for what is happening and assurances that it would get better. On the 23rd of September last year, I was emailed by the project manager saying that they won't leave this matter alone until it is resolved. That's a year ago. I know that we had to change the intersection, that there was a problem with it. I was not disputing that at all, but the impact it has made on my business is huge. And it wasn't foreseen, but no one seems to be doing anything about it now. So if we can just go to the next slide, please. I do understand that the community board were not in favour of what was put forward. If you look from it's pretty hard because my drawing isn't very good, but looking for the purple lines, you're coming down Middleton Road. The only way people can go now is to the left because they want to go down Island Road or turn right into Riccarton. They have no choice. So they come round the corner and they look for the best place to do it. I have a lovely double entrance way, and if I have no cars in there, then the cars will come in and turn around. They'll go right down to the end of my property and come back. Initially, I was having 40 or 50 cars a day. Now I'm probably down to between 5 and 15, depending on the day and how full my car park is with my guests. I noticed that a camera was put up last week, obviously to monitor my email irritations to people. It was taken down today, so I imagine that's only been for a week. Anyway, I've had this for 18 months. 6,000 cars is what I estimate, or more, that have gone through my car park that didn't need to. This isn't my doing. It's as a result of the internet changes. I've had staff nearly knocked off their bikes, guests nearly run over, and people being hurt. But it's out of my control. So next slide, please. Last Friday, I got a lovely email from Lynette Ellis. It was a litany of lies and is of such a bullying nature that I've now sent it through to my solicitor, along with a copy of the 24 pages.
Sorry, I'm just sorry, Sally. I feel for you, but Code of Conduct says we're not allowed to have members of the public criticising staff. So I've just given you a heads up on that one.
All right.
So
Let me go back. No, that's all right. I got an email from someone from the council quite high up. It contained a litany of lies and it was of a bullying nature. So it has been sent through to my lawyer, along with the 24 pages of emails that I've had in the last 18 months. It appears that if I don't succumb to the way of the council's thinking, then the best form of attack is to be a bully. Next one, please. Although a lot of you have not read the letter that was sent to me, I have a couple of comments in response to it. Apart from Phil Major coming to see me on site, I've seen no one from the council since last year. That's 8 months. There was a suggestion that they'd been out a lot to see me. I'm ready to discuss things with people, but I'm still waiting for them to come up with the time that suits. Phil has come up with some suggestions and it has not, none of them have been implemented. Did you play that? Did you see the video? Sorry, this is just an example of one of the things. Some of the options were to add a median strip down the middle. This isn't going to work because it's going to stop my guests from coming in. It's also going to stop the businesses on the other side of the road getting their traffic in as well. A couple of, this is where there was a near miss here. A couple of statements also was that there will now be no further correspondence entered into, and if I do email anyone, then they will not reply to my emails anymore. Apparently there are no other options available, and so the council will not commit any more time to my issue. This sounds to me like it's an ostrich syndrome. Bury your head in the sand and maybe the issue will disappear. Sorry, this issue has not disappeared. It's very real to me day after day. I used to talk to people. You can go on to the next slide, Faye, if you like. Just push it on. That's just a repeat. I used to go out and talk to people, but I can no longer do that when they're turning around. Most people are apologetic. Uber drivers don't care, but it's the ones that are abusive to me that wear me down. To be told that they have a gun in the boot of their car and then proceed to get out of their car because they say they're going to shoot me is not funny. I'm not reporting it to the police because one day they might come back and actually do it. They were in jest, but there are some very horrible people out there. I don't go out to challenge people anymore. So next one, please. Next slide. Next one, you just click again. Sorry. So my solicitor's waiting to hear from me following this meeting. I pay $24,000 in rates a year to help the roading, to help services keep up to scratch in Christchurch. How much is the City Council going to pay me for allowing me to have people using my car park? Who's going to take responsibility for this? Who's going to try and work with me to solve the issue? There are options. Someone has to want to talk to me about it. To say that I've turned away every idea is just inaccurate, and it's trying to make me look like the bad guy. Well, guess what? It's not me that's bad. I just need someone to listen and actually care and hopefully act on this.
Thank you very much, Ellie. And I've just been informed that you're over time, but anyway, we will take two questions, and then we'll receive your deputation, and then we'll decide where to go from there. So 2 quick questions, Andre and Jimmy?
I'm just wondering if you're able to touch on, you mentioned that some commitments, promises were made. I'm just wondering if you're able to touch on what those were, and also just touch maybe on some of the ideas you mentioned that were put forward, in fact, what they were.
Okay.
You mentioned the median strip, which obviously wouldn't work. But
So Phil also has come up with trialling double yellow lines to see if it will stop a few people. Probably won't, but it's worth giving it a go. He's also come up with putting those flexi poles in set areas down so that cars can still cross, but it just isn't more of a deterrent. And the other issues are that they will be responding to me within 2 weeks, and a month later I have to get hold of them, and the promises they'll come and see me.
Okay.
I'm aware that I'm over time.
Yeah, and is what you're saying is that you'd be open to trying those ideas, assuming they're actually investigated and implemented.
Well, they were suggested 3 months ago and no one's done anything about it.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, I'd
Thank
like
you.
to request an extension of time considering the seriousness of the
Thank you. We've got a question. Question from
I
Jimmy.
remember last year you sent the email to me and the field, am I right? I replied to you, particular request the staff, give us the recommendation. I also forwarded to you. And in that time, staff told me that also field manager were site visited. Then the feedback to us. So after that, I didn't hear anything. I thought that this issue, has been resolved because I replied to you, you didn't reply to me. I thought has been resolved.
The email that I remember from you, Jimmy, said that
You sent
we're passing,
same time to the field. I remember.
and the email that came back said that you were passing it to Phil. So I didn't reply to you because I believed that was the end of our.
Yeah, so that's why, I didn't hear from you. I thought that this issue has been resolved, because the field mentioned, he has been a good idea, when I talked to you about it. So that's why I didn't follow up again.
Yeah, thank you. And Jimmy was wondering about an extension of time, but anyway, we have got staff that are on a time frame that are coming in at 5:20 for the naming of the Hornby Centre. So I'm just aware of that. But what I'm going to suggest is, if the board agree, is that we ask staff to come back with what the options were that were given to Sally, and what steps we can take to actually try and remedy this situation. So that's what I'm quite happy to suggest that we do as an outcome of your presentation to us today.
The board's requesting staff advice on the options to deter.
You might have more influence because they won't respond to me anymore.
Yep. So are you moving that?
Yep, and Mr. Chair, could I also ask that be done with
Don't need to
urgency?
move it, Mike.
Oh, no, yes. And yes.
Can I ask that Phil Major's two possible options are tabled as well? The double yellow lines and the little flexi poles.
We can't do that. We can only ask.
No, we can't do that. But anyway, we can, when the staff come back to us with a report, well, then we'll be able to talk about it then. So
Well,
that's where we are. So thanks very much, Sally.
why don't we actually put those down?
Well, I don't think it's,
Because they might, he's quite good practical.
we all might have ideas too, but we don't want to start writing them down as an outcome of this meeting here today. So what I'm suggesting is that we've received Sally's presentation in the public forum, and that we've got an outcome that we move on and get staff to come back and say what those options were and what possible way is it that we can all get this resolved. So it's not fair on you, Sally. We want to take that pressure off you. So
Can I ask
Yes.
when the ETA will be on that coming back to the board?
with urgency, we've just,
Yes, I know, but when will that urgency be?
Another month.
well, I haven't got a crystal ball, Debbie. so
No,
I
that's why I'm
can't answer that.
asking, perhaps staff might have a clearer indication.
Well, I don't know whether staff know what the workload of these people are. So anyway, have you got any idea when it will be?
And we can't give timeframes that aren't deliverable because Sally's been dealing with that for the last while. Timeframes
I get given timeframes and not one of them has ever been.
Okay, well,
Can I,
we'll keep pushing it, Sally. We'll keep pushing it.
that's
Yeah.
for as long as we're here. So,
Okay,
can I just ask a very quick question?
no, because we're finished with the
Well, I've
question.
asked for an extension of
I
time.
know, but it hasn't been granted because I've just explained to you, Debbie, that we've got staff zooming in on a meeting and they're
In
under a
5 minutes'
time constraint for an item that's not even under agenda yet. Sally's got a quarter of an hour. That's time allocated.
Okay.
Yes, it is.
Can I say that we expressed concern at some of the tenor of the emails?
Well, I haven't seen that, so I don't think we can express concern, Helen, because we haven't cited the email
Well,
correspondence.
some people have cited it.
Okay, well, I haven't.
Quite a lot. I'm happy to send them to you. I've
Would
got a
you?
transcript.
Yes, yes.
There's been enough.
So that's what we're doing. Thanks very much, Sally. Okay.
Sorry to hear that.
Moving on then to deputations by appointment, and we've got the Clarence Reserve. And welcome to the table, Garth Wilson, who is a local resident and the secretary of the Central Riccarton Resident Association. Garth, do you want to come and take your seat amongst the brethren? And you want to talk to us about item 7 on the agenda, which is Clarence Street Reserve, Community Garden and Lease.
Good afternoon. So
you can remove your mask while you're speaking if you wish.
Some of us had met through Mr. Dawson with the people that want to move it from Riccarton West to Central Riccarton. So some of the issues that were raised at the meeting that Mr. Dawson was present at, public money is going to be used to assist community garden, and public money has been used, trust money, but it's still, public money. So we were concerned that the planter boxes would be placed where they were most likely to have maximum sun and the greatest chance of growing successfully. And so the people from Riccarton West agreed to that because there's quite a shaded area in that reserve. You see there, it looks bright, but it is shaded. So that matter's been resolved. Now, somebody raised the question of undesirables, and I think we're happy that no food is going to be kept on site in a pantry there unless the workers are there. So food that they receive, not only the food they grow, but the food that is given to them, such as bread and surplus food. So they've undertaken not to keep that food on site unless the workers, are physically present. So there should be no reason why any undesirable should hang out there. There's the matter of the fence. Now, I took a photograph of that fence this afternoon. Now, the property on the right-hand side of that would be number 16. That's a business. Okay, it's a business because the owner, who is living in London, has rented this out for decades. I mean, I know that there hasn't been a house on that site where the garden is proposed to be since 2007. That's been owned by the ratepayer and it's just been lying idle. Okay, so here's an owner, an absentee landlord, who's taken income from our community but hasn't even bothered to look after their own property they're extracting income from. So the point we've made to Mr. Dawson is that the law should apply to that owner and they should be responsible for 50% of the cost of the fence. Now, what I've been told is, the owner may not be happy to do that, but it's not a matter of whether the owner's happy or not. There's a legal obligation. And the question I put to anybody in this room, would any of us live in a house with a fence like that and leave it there for 15 years? Of course we wouldn't, and nor should the community have to put up with that. And the problem with putting the new fence in there that Mr. Dawson proposes is the ground is basically like concrete there because of the tree roots. You can only see a fraction of the size of the trees. And, the roots will be all matted together under the ground. It's going to be a very hard job to get a fence in there, but it's going to be a very expensive job, to put the fence in. So, look, what we're proposing is that the absentee landlord, the owner of that property, should be required to pay 50% of the cost of the section of the house. There's a triangle at the back, and our communities are dealing with Ms. Whittaker, Holly Whittaker, about putting some extra fruit trees at the back. This is not in where the community garden's going to be, but there's a little triangle at the back that's got a couple of trees now. No, fruit from that thing can go to the food bank and that sort of thing. Look, I do want to thank Mr. Dawson. It's been difficult over the years dealing with some managers and council, but Mr. Dawson's not just a breath of fresh air, he's a gale of fresh air in dealing with these matters and facilitating this. And, I want to pay tribute to him.
Thank you. Thank you. Now, there is something that I'm aware of, and is if that fence is in disrepair, one of the property owners can actually go ahead and fix that fence and then bill the neighbour. If they can't get a consent from the neighbour, from the property owner that owns half the fence, then that can happen. So that's another thought. That's all, Garth. So anyway, thanks very much for your deputation, and we'll keep working on it.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
And just in closing, I'd just like to publicly thank Councillor Chen for 15 wonderful years of looking after Riccarton people.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. Sorry? Catherine, Catherine's just joined us as well, so I'm just letting you know that Catherine joined the meeting here.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks very much. Moving on then to the presentation of petitions, and we have none. So the Clarence Street community garden lease, do we want to deal with that, or do we want to, in light of what the precious staff are under, do we want to move to, unless the Clarence Street Reserve,
I think
unless we can pop that.
do it now, actually.
Lynn's not in the waiting room, so
if we deal with the garden.
yeah.
Okay, we can deal with that one. Okay, so Clarence Street Reserve garden lease, we've all got the report in front of us, and we've come to the table, Felix. Thank you. We're in your hands.
You've seen the report. Have you got any questions on that? Would you like me to discuss the fencing issue, or is there anything else first?
Yes, if the fences, please. Are we able to say, fix the fence, don't, we'll fix it and you'll pay half the price?
Well, you can. That's the rights under the Fencing Act, but you do have to get their approval to what you're going to fix it with. So, I had a brief look at that. I have been in touch with the agent who manages the property, and I talked about the fence, and she gave approval to replace the fence, but made it clear that there would be no contribution. So we have got the process available to us under the Fencing Act, but I think that's it's likely to be a rabbit hole that we sort of go into and don't come out of for some time with a fence. In the situation here, with the pressure on the garden to move from their current site, there's I don't think we'd get the fence before they needed to move. That's the first point on the fence. Second thing is that we met with the fencing contractor down there and last week, and the parks people, and the contractor was pretty adamant that we couldn't even put a fence, replace the existing fence on the fence line because of the trees there. You've seen the trees. He said that the trees are on the boundary, which is where the fence has to go, and that he wasn't really up for much discussion about trying to replace the fence anyway. He felt that it's more likely that property would be subdivided at some point, then the fence issue will be dealt with along with the trees. In other words, you can't build the fence there without taking out the trees as far as he was concerned. So his suggestion was to put a wire netting fence in the same nature of the one along the back of it, about 600, 800 out from the fence line as an alternative fence. And he felt that was doable in terms of actually getting a fence in, without removing the trees. So that seemed like a reasonable, practical solution. We're going around the fence issue, really. It's a relatively low cost, and the cost is met by the trust anyway. So there's no ratepayers' money involved here. To be honest, Garth, can I just say that was a very nice thing of him to say. A gale of fresh air is maybe a bit much, but thanks very much. In terms of where was I?
The tree.
In terms of ratepayers' money, waste, and obligations with the neighbour, really, if we get into debates and conversations with the neighbour, we know where that's going to go, and that will be a black hole of ratepayers' money, probably. At the very, that's, we might get a fence out of it. We probably wouldn't get money out of them without spending quite a bit of money to get it from them, in my view. And we can't build it there anyway. So according to the fences, so that's where we're at with the fence.
Okay.
I think it's doable. Well, you got any comments?
Just a question, Felix. Must be a way of contacting the owner overseas.
Oh, well, I've contacted them through the agent.
Okay. Well, would they have an objection to those trees being removed?
Well, I didn't ask them that. I thought that would be such a phenomenal cost. I mean, we're talking 10.
Huge cost.
You can assume that. I mean, the stumps are pretty big.
Yeah.
I didn't even entertain that as an option, particularly given.
If those trees are on the city council's property, like I'm hearing.
No, they're on the boundary.
Right on the boundary. Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
Very, I actually thought they were on the neighbour's side, but the fences seem to think they're on the boundary.
Okay.
I think what we've got is an issue there
that
isn't going to go away without quite a bit of work.
Okay, so it sounds like then that the trust would be comfortable with the wire fence along that, for a period of time until see what happens with the property next door. Then the fence could be shifted.
Yeah, we haven't. We arranged to meet them. They weren't able to make the meeting today. Actually, it's probably not their preferred option. But I think we need to be practical here. What options we've got available, really?
Yeah. Helen, you've got a question?
The wooden fence. So it will go along the line of the wooden fence, or slightly.
It'll be set back in. Probably about this much. It's not ideal. There's a little space there. I said to the fencer, to minimise the distance because you don't want a space there. But I think it's we stepped it out. It was reasonably close. He seemed to think he could get posts in at that point.
Still good.
And the other issue is, are they quality trees or fairly average?
They're not bad looking trees. In terms of trees, but they're there's one deciduous and one evergreen. They need quite a bit of trimming.
I've just got a quick.
Yep.
In my unprofessional opinion, you probably wouldn't have to take the posts out. Okay, so you wouldn't have to disturb anything if the posts aren't rotten.
Oh, they are. Have a look.
So anyway, I had a look at the picture that Garth put up, and what I thought was, if a community-minded group could get some 3x2s, 3 posts, and then just get some corrugated iron or something to put up along that in the meantime, which wouldn't cost a lot of money, and it would keep that fence there. So then they wouldn't have to put a wire fence up. So that's another option that I've just thought of in my unprofessional opinion.
Well, I have to say, Chair, I thought the same thing. I went there to the meeting with those thoughts in my mind. In terms of the existing fence posts at the front, they're only half size, so the posts are pretty well gone. So there is a need for new posts. I thought that it was an option to sort of go up against the trees, but you know the fencer was pretty adamant, and I sort of left it with him.
Okay.
And,
Well,
and
fence
with
is
his
professional, he's
recommended
probably-
option, you know.
Sorry, Felix. The fixed fencer was a professional. What we're looking
That's
at
fine.
now is taking over the lease of that site
Mm.
as a DIY group, really.
What about a men's shed?
Okay?
Could men's shed get?
No, that group have the ability to do that.
Okay.
I'm sure of
Okay.
it anyway, with a little bit of help from demolition contractors and stuff like that. Yeah.
Well, the fencer that was there was the fencer that the group has asked to do the fencing.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're working
Group
with
are you
them.
talking with? Are you talking about
The proposed
the
lessee.
garden,
Yeah.
the community
yeah.
garden, but
yeah.
you've
Okay,
also got
well,
the Central Riccarton Residents Association.
Yeah.
I mean, Mr. Chairman, I think the way through this is for staff to work with both groups.
Well, what we do today, Helen, what we're here to do today is to accept the staff's recommendation on this, and then let people deal with it. If they want help or support for anything else, they'll come back to us.
So what's the actual recommendation?
Is
The
it council?
recommendation is that we enter into that you give authority to us to complete negotiations around the lease with the Partica Trust
With
I'm
the-
happy to move
for the
it.
purpose of a community garden on that site.
And with the right of renewal as well, it says in the report, so it's got
Well, it's a
a
5-year term with the
5 years
with a
term
right
of
of
right of renewal, and I think it was talking there about, if it's established and keeps going, there would be no reason unless the council wanted to sell it or utilise the utility and open the drain up, open the waterways up that flows through there, then, so it's a pretty good option, I think. So I think the best thing we can do is, hang on, we've got Gamal's got a hand up and then we've got Jimmy, so I'm just trying to get through this as quick as we can. So anyway, Helen, are you finished?
Yes, no, look, I think the option is that we lease the land,
Yeah, that's what the report's.
but we've got an unresolved fence issue. And so we asked the staff to work with the Garden Trust and Central Riccarton Residents Association.
Okay, you can ask.
A solution.
Yep.
To find.
We can put a note on.
I'll actually move that. So there's no issue with granting a lease.
Okay,
It's just the fence is the outstanding issue.
okay,
We've
so,
authorised, so the staff recommendation is to authorise the manager of property consultants to conclude and administer all necessary lease negotiations and documentation.
that's what it
So that would
says.
cover it?
That's already
Well,
there.
it does really. The proposal was that they replace the fence. So we work with them and are working with them.
But you're
Already.
working with the Central Riccarton Residents Association as well. You need to work with both the Garden Trust people and
Helen, the recommendation that we're moving will, so we're not here to tell staff what to do. We're here to make a decision on granting a lease on that piece of land, Helen.
the fence has been brought up as a major
Yes, so
issue.
that's going to be covered by what, that's going to be covered by it, Helen.
No, it's not. It's not.
Helen, it's covered in
In number 3,
Helen, it's covered in the recommendation.
well, which area? Because I can't see it. The fence
It's
is.
on the number 3 on the screen in front of you.
We're authorising the manager of property consultancy to conclude and administer.
Correct? That's it.
But after consultation with the Garden Trust and Central Riccarton Residents Association regarding the fence. That's it.
They can talk to whoever they like. Felix, you've
I could suggest if you want to add to the recommendation that the board make a note that the Residents
Yes.
Association might be valuable of assistance in
I thought that's.
negotiating.
Yeah, so can I move the fence is on the 3? The fence is of concern.
No, hang on, we've still got to, I thought you were
I'll-
asking a question.
No, I'll-
Helen, I
I'll
thought you were
move
asking,
something.
Helen, I thought you were asking a question. We've got people here with their hands up as well that want to
Okay,
ask
well,
questions. So if you
I'll
bear
move
with me,
something
Helen,
at the right
we'll
time.
get the question from Gamal and then we'll come back before we put a motion, come back to your recommendation. Thank you. Gamal,
Yeah, kia ora, thank you.
you're muted, brother.
Kia ora, thank you.
Yep.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, thank you. I'm happy to move it, and we should go with the leads and then also work with the Central Riccarton Association. I'm aware that they had a meeting before and they supported the garden. and it's in the report.
Yes.
So I'm happy to move it.
So you're happy to move
I
it?
have a question. Yeah.
Okay, Jimmy's got a question. Sorry.
One of submission post these three items, but I review the paragraph 5, 17, 18, 19, or have a mitigate effect. That's pretty good. But whether told to this one, this guy, whether it's the fence, outside the fence, same residence or different residence. I mean, his name is Mark Fairbrother.
Yeah. Well, he raised
Which number?
What's that?
Which number of the?
Jimmy wants to know the address of Mr.
address.
Fairbrother, who was strongly objecting. Yeah.
Number 3, I think it is. 16.
Or just beside the park.
No, yeah, 16.
He's down next to the other reserve.
Or the other one. Okay. I saw.
Is that private? No.
Okay, but he's for aware, can mitigate, this effect.
Yeah, no, I spoke to him. He rang me last week, and we notified him of his opportunity to speak here, and
Yes.
he's seen the report, and he's very aware of it.
Just want to know.
And he
Okay.
decided in the end that he was happy to leave it as it is.
Okay,
Okay.
that's good. Okay, thank you.
Thanks very much. Is there any more questions of Felix? No, thanks very much. Thanks very much, Felix, for your time, and thanks very much for your hurricane of fresh air. And Helen, you want to move
I want to move in addition to 3.
Okay.
And it's at the end of 3, it states that the broken fence is of concern, that the manager of property consultancy work with the Central Riccarton Residents Association and the Garden Trust, you'll probably get a better, and the Community Garden and Patika Trust to find a satisfactory resolution.
Okay.
So Helen, if we say then that the board leaving 3 is it is authorises the managed property consultancy to conclude and administer all necessary lease negotiations and documentation and work with the Central Riccarton Residents Association
And the trust.
And the Garden Trust
with regard
find
to
a-
the boundary.
to find a satisfactory resolution to the broken fence.
Okay. So Clay's taken a note of that.
Mhm. Okay.
So are we willing to accept that addition?
Please.
It's not, it's just going on to the
It's just going on,
recommendation. So the recommendation, the motion
Gamal said
before us with that addition has been moved by Gamal. Gamal, are you happy with what Helen was saying?
I think it's very urgent, and we need to actually take action on this because
Yep.
they were very for the last 2 years they worked very hard, and there is no time to actually to waste. They need to move, and then we can address this issue later.
Okay.
And then,
Okay. So anyway, what Helen was moving was that part 3 on the recommendation is that we ask staff to work with the Residents Association and the Garden Trust to actually sort out the fencing issue. So if you're happy with that, Gamal, as a mover, we'll add that on to part 3 on the recommendation that you've got in front of you. Are you happy with that, brother?
yes.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So have we got a seconder? Seconded by Mark Peters.
Well, Helen might want something.
Oh, Helen, do you want to second it?
Yep, thank you.
Okay.
I think
We'll have an option. Okay. Any discussion? Then I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye.
Right.
Against, if any, carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on then now to the naming report of the Hornby Centre. Welcome, Craig. And Craig, you have a
Thanks, Chair. Is Lynn still on? No,
She's not.
okay.
Craig, we tried to get
No, I know you were doing quite well there, but important that those matters are discussed. Just got a message.
anyway. Hi, Ramon, and welcome to our board to talk about this very, very important and exciting matter.
Yep. Let me just see whether Lynn is able to dial back in, because Lynn from Matapopuri, that obviously they give the name, and she's much better telling the story and the brand and the quality of the name than me.
But this is not available. It's
Yep, so
covered-
she should be,
covered very well in the report too.
yes. But there's nothing like hearing it from the person.
Dead right.
No
Absolutely.
question. I'd like to move.
One second. You're moving it.
Yeah. If
No,
no,
we haven't had the report presented to us yet. We're still waiting to
I mean,
see
yeah.
whether the
It's
co-presenter
reasonable. Yes.
is going to be able to join us. Sorry, Jimmy.
Okay, no problem.
Sorry, who are we waiting on? Lynn.
Lindsay Arca, who is representative of Matapopri, who
Yeah.
so is she, she's just say she's just trying to get in.
So I see there's
She's in the waiting room.
alternative options here as well.
Oh, yes, bring it.
Yep. So we can look through those.
Okay.
He's not popping up at the minute.
It looks like we're in your hands at present.
Okay.
I'll send her the link again.
Yep.
Great. Okay, so we're in your hands. We've got the report in front of us and we've read the very, very detailed report. And it's
Yeah, so the purpose of presenting this report tonight is to consider and approve the permanent name to be used for the new library, customer service centre and aquatic centre located in Hornby. And we have engaged with Matapopri to develop a cultural narrative that is going to be weaved through the facility with both artwork, and an important component of that is obviously the name. And I've been involved in a couple of namings of centre, Waipuna Halswell-Hornby-Riccarton and Parakiori Recreation and Sports Centre. And one thing that I always like working with Matapopri, because they really do think about the story behind the name and the linkage of the why they actually give a name. And this name, which has been put forward and gifted by Ngāi Tahuareri, is Matatiki. And that name represents I'll just get to that point there, a spring of water, and the source of water and well-being for Otatahi in Christchurch. Nothing more important than that these days, as we were, is a source of water. And the report also contains the full story around the connection of the name and why it has been particularly gifted. Matatiki expresses the importance of water and draws our attention to the interconnection of land, people and water. The name Matatiki also signifies the importance and connection to waterways and travel routes, which were originally in the area of Hornby. So, you know, I probably haven't done justice to Lynn, but in terms of 5.5, the name of a facility, it reflects meaningfulness and brings essence to the brand. And I think that's what this name does. The connection to, I suppose, the geographical location, it has also been put forward with the name. So Matatiki Hornby Centre, which is also consistent with the naming conventions that council uses across most of its facilities now. So I'm putting forward that the name be adopted as Matatiki Hornby Centre.
You're moving that we accept the name that
the report. Yep.
To us.
Yes.
Okay. Yes.
So
Okay.
Jimmy's moved it.
I move. Yeah.
And Mark has seconded.
We moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Jimmy,
Okay. Yeah. Based on the staff,
thanks very much.
the interpret this quite clearly, because the first one, the formal name is a Matatiki Hornby Centre. It's rather than Matatiki or rather than the Hornby Centre. That's very significant. First one regarding to the kind of the Matatiki one, because council actually way back to the probably 6 years ago, council had the partnership with the Ngāi Tahu, six the kind of hapu, as a kind of joining the governance, because when they have the Te Honga Papatip Ruranga join the committee meeting, our mayor and also their chair, co-chair this one, regarding to the environment, regarding to the those kind of all kind of associated meeting, etc. Second one, the particular star mentioned, this one is kind of source, the water, the living water. Actually, all the source of water is very close to our Hornby area. So this kind of we can give us, particularly highly regards, we will not forget all the source of this living water. But by English name still very crucial because Hornby Center, otherwise we get lost, only Matatiki. But if no Hornby Center, where about? We have no any idea. So this combine the whole kind of bind the culture, give the people highly recognize this facility will belong to everyone. So I'm very happy, to support and move this name. Yes.
Thank you, Jimmy. And just following on from that, really, is as we have in this ward of the now Halswell-Hornby-Riccarton ward, we've got the headwaters of Three Rivers.
Yes.
Yes.
So there is many puna or springs in our ward.
Yes.
That's exactly what Lynn would have described, and she's actually listening online. I don't know why she can't get it. And so you saying that, Mike, is she would be very pleased that you've sort of
I'm
connected.
here.
With that.
Sorry.
The birth of the Y. The water comes from the springs in our area.
Lynn, would you like? Sorry, Chair. Lynn, would you like to compliment that?
But we're actually sorry, Lynn.
Yeah.
But we're actually in debate.
Oh, sorry.
So yeah.
Yep.
But we'd love you to come along to another board meeting, Lynn, and explain that to us, where you can join us and have it live streamed. That you couldn't be here tonight because we've actually moved and seconded. Sorry, dear, and we're in discussion. So, thanks very much for it. Yeah. So, are you kapai with that? Thank you. So, moving back into the debate. Jimmy, you're the mover.
Yeah.
Anybody else want to add to the debate? Mark?
Yep, I just want to reiterate what's been said there. This Matatiki Hornby Centre is a great name, and to pick up on Mike's point that we've got the headwaters of the rivers in our wards, which is, I think, absolutely magnificent and great to be able to recognise that in this name and very appropriate for the Hornby Centre. So
thank you. Thank you. Any other discussion? No more discussion then. We'll put the recommendation. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against, are any? Carried. Thank you. Thank you very much. That's a big day for our ward. Thank you. Thank you very much, Lynn, and we love to hear from you. You're welcome to come back to our community board at your earliest opportunity. So thanks very much. Okay, moving on then now to proposed road names and Shands Road. Somebody like to move that?
We.
Hang on.
Yeah, I'm saying
Before we get there.
Shands Road. We've got Bruce Stewart Drive and Perfect Drive.
No,
Prefect.
exactly. Thank you. That was going to be my concern.
You might be on something.
Prefect.
No, the fact that it's going to be easily spelt, and you took that straight away. You thought it was perfect.
Okay, because I'm going to move an amendment.
We don't need to move an amendment.
For Prefect Drive.
No, I know, but I'm just giving you a heads up.
Is that because you don't like? Is that because you don't like Ford's Mike?
Agree the names and then we'll put the motion.
Okay.
Just agree the names.
So, are we happy with the names that have been proposed?
I'm happy.
I'm just concerned because of the misassociation, and you pointed that out straight away when you thought it was Perfect Drive when it's Prefect Drive.
Okay, I'll explain that anyway. So we've got a mover and a seconder, and then
No, wait. Let's slow down. We've got two names that are proposed. We've got Bruce Stewart Drive, and then we've got Prefect Drive. And what I'm hearing is that people are comfortable with Bruce Stewart Drive, and people are not so comfortable with Prefect Drive.
Correct.
So there are 4 alternative names: Assembly Drive, Generation Drive, Formation Drive, or Revolution Drive. So if you can agree an alternative name amongst yourselves, when we get there, we can move Bruce Stewart Drive and the other name, and then we're there.
Well, I'm quite happy with Bruce Stewart anyway, because he's got a link with the area. And I spoke at our pre-meeting anyway about the prefect, and I thought that would probably be a name, an appropriate name for an area around the school, for example, just one example. But I think with the industrial development that's going on there, with the Calder Stewart developments, that Assembly Drive would actually be quite appropriate, because that's where, when you're manufacturing and assembling stuff, that's more appropriate than somebody who was driving a Ford Prefect back in 1930s or 40s.
You could align an assembly with a school as well, as well as Prefect.
Okay, Mark.
Can I suggest, if we're going to look for an alternative, that 3.20 Revolution Drive would be very appropriate?
Yeah.
And the reason I say that is because of the Calder Stewart site down in Otago, I believe is Revolution Hills. Yeah. It's their head office down in Milton. And so that would fit more appropriately with the Calder Stewart.
I like Revolution. And not only that.
Okay. Okay, well, it sounds like more people are favouring Revolution.
Yeah.
I just thought that might be where some odd people would like to go and congregate, but anyway.
Revolution.
They probably will.
Old boy races.
I was born out of the Revolution in Romania, so.
Yes, you were.
Yes.
Okay.
That's not what it's referring to, though.
No.
Bruce Stewart Drive and Revolution Drive. Somebody want to move those two?
Well, yeah.
Okay, I agree.
Seconded by Mark Peters.
Okay.
Okay. Any further discussion? Then I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against, there any? Carried. Thank you very much. Now moving on to Quace Road. And I think, Helen, you've got a bit of an issue with this. So anyway, we're in the same position as we were before.
Yes.
We get that up on our screen.
It's up there now. So Cookfield.
Okay.
Cofield.
Road name's Quace Road. It's Cookfield.
Yes.
And we've read the logic behind that. But at the same time, I've got a hand an indication from Helen Broughton that she would favour Creekside because it's a dairy farm in Halswell. And it's also got a link to Mr. Henderson, who got Henderson's road's named after as well. So that was just a thought from Helen. So if we're comfortable with that,
it's okay.
Now, where is it? It's off where?
Can I say the Crookside seemed fairly remote because it's the birthplace of a person who came to Halswell, when I think the Creekside is more connected now. It's a dairy farm.
It was farmed by Mr. Henderson.
So it's more relevant.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah, but can I just highlight, this is the preferred, that Cookfield is the preferred name for the developer.
Well, that doesn't mean to say that we've got to go with that, Debbie. That's why they've got the alternate names there.
I think that'd be pretty heavy with Creekside as well.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, they wouldn't have been there otherwise.
The report before us is we got the two preferred names. Or one preferred name is Cookfield, and we want to change Cookfield to Creekside.
Well, I'd like to remain with the preferred name. There's actually no.
Mover and second.
I'll move it.
I'll second it.
Seconded by Helen.
It's not even your ward, Helen.
Is there any discussion?
She made a pretty good reason though.
Okay, so what we're doing is we're moving to Creekside Drive. Okay. I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against, the any? Carried. Thank you. Moving on then to our next item.
Debbie, did you vote against it and did you want it to
I would like it recorded that I was happy with the preferred name recommended by the
Well, I can
developer.
only record that you voted against the motion.
Well, I didn't see Debbie vote on.
No, I didn't vote against
it either.
I didn't have time to vote against it. Mr. Chair passed it before I had a
You could
chance.
abstain, maybe.
It's too late. Mr.
late.
Chair had already passed it.
No, but you could record an abstention.
No,
It doesn't matter.
we usually go
Okay.
for an alternative name when there's a good reason
Okay,
not to go with the preferred name.
okay, well, let's
What a
use
good
over now.
reason
We're
it's
moving
too
on
remote.
to the Waipuna Halswell-Hornby-Riccarton discretionary response funds applications, and we've got staff at the table to steer us through the Moral Compass Trust, the Halswell United Football Club, Inc., and the Greater Hornby Residents Association, Inc. And we've got Bailey and Sam. Kia ora, haere mai, and welcome.
Kia ora, thank you.
Any questions?
We'll just pass it.
Happy to move.
Just move it. Second.
I would like to move.
One question. So Andre moved it,
I second.
Okay.
seconded by Debbie.
Okay.
Yep.
Just one question. The first applicant, but you the
Should I ask the question
35.
before you move?
Yeah.
Seconded.
Good
So
debate.
we're in
Too late.
debate now.
Okay. All right.
Why you moved? Jimmy, you put your hand up and you said you moved it. So once it was moved, it was seconded. So then there's no opportunity to ask questions. So- Okay, we're all cut by.
Yeah. Kapai.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll
Thank
put the
you.
motion then. All those in favour say aye. Against the any carried. Thank you very much. Moving on then to
Sorry, Chair, may I ask regarding to the process, whether I can move and same time can ask a question or not? I have to ask a question,
Ask a
then move.
question. Well, you ask a question
Cannot.
while the staff are sitting at the end of the table, Jimmy.
Yes, yes.
Because we invite them to the table to present their report,
Okay,
which we did. And then
Thank
you
you.
put your hand up and move the
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
recommendation. So
okay,
Well,
thank
actually,
you.
I heard Andre and Debbie's.
It was Andre.
You would have been there. Yeah, it was
no,
Andre
then
and
it was
Debbie.
ended up it was Andre, yeah.
Mhm.
Because you said you wanted to move it.
Yeah, I want to move, but
And then-
I have a minor question. What I have to ask.
Okay.
Listen.
So then when there was a discussion about whether you can
Okay,
ask
okay.
questions
Yeah,
or not, Jimmy, then we.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, sorry, brother.
No, it wasn't.
Moving on then to our area report.
Did we vote on that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, we'll vote again. All those in favour say aye.
Right.
Against the carried, but we had voted, hadn't we?
I think
Well, we're just reinforcing it.
Okay, so then I went on to explain to Jimmy, so anyway, that's it. We've done that. Now we're in the elected members information
No.
exchange.
Area report.
Oh, sorry.
You're almost there.
Yep. Oh, it's quite a big area report. Andre, questions?
Questions. So page 108 of our agenda today, which is community board plan monitoring, local road network improvements in Halswell. What I've been trying to figure out for a while, so this line here, community board have requested that staff identify areas in Aidenfield subdivision and surrounding area where speed limits could be reduced. When did our community board request that? I've asked this a number of times. No one's been able to actually point me towards when our board requested this.
For Aidenfield,
When did we request identifying areas in Aidenfield to reduce the speed limit of? We've raised areas in Aidenfield where speeds are an issue that require speed cut measures, but when did we ever request a speed review in Aidenfield? That's, as far as I know, this is a direction from council staff that we don't have a say on. When did we actually request
no, I'm
that?
pretty sure. And I'd need to delve back and find out when. I'm pretty sure when. So it's been on the book since Barry was a traffic engineer.
Yeah.
And so Barry said we're going to go 40 kilometre zones. I think they started in Knightstream.
Yeah, but what?
Yeah. And then they moved, I'm
Yeah.
getting there. And then they moved through to Wigram. And then he said he was going to start until he presented. I'm pretty sure we've had a briefing. He said, this is what we're going to do.
But it was being told what's happening as opposed to our board requesting it.
Okay.
Yeah, well, the briefing would have said, do you want me to continue with this? And so, because the board have had because I've been here and then I've left and I've come back.
Yeah.
But in the time that I've been here, I've certainly had requests from members of the board to include other roads into part of that briefing. So, for example, there's Milnes Road, which is just off of Halswell Road. There's a section which is a 60, and then it goes to a 40.
Yeah.
And so board members have said, can we reduce that or get it so it's all the same speed?
Yeah.
And there was another section that was asked to be included as well.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, I'm trying to think where it was as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It goes back to the days of our previous board as well.
Yeah. I guess I'm just unclear on where we're at with this, because we've done the speed review on Waipuna Skies, which has not impacted probably speeding. And when we come to Aidenfield, we've got obvious speeding issues along Aidenfield Drive, of which a speed review wouldn't necessarily impact because of people choose to speed. So I'm just sort of concerned that
it's definitely.
I'm just not clear on where we are going with these next speed reviews.
Well, so Aidenfield as a subdivision is the next one, which staff are working through.
Yeah.
The direction has come from the community board to go into the safer speed reviews. That, as you say, Mark, it may not have been this iteration of the community board. It may have been a previous board that set the ball rolling to say, let's look at these subdivisions.
Cool.
But nothing. You haven't had a presentation yet.
No.
Saying this is what a review is. So you haven't agreed anything. So the work is being prepared for you to make a decision on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. That's all. Yeah, that's all for me.
Any other questions on the area report? I'd just like to thank staff for the work that you've done on this area report, and it does come up with quite positive things in our area, but we've still got more to do, and there'll always be more to do, but we've got to be grateful for what we have got done. Okay, is there any questions on it? No? You happy to move? Seconded by Jimmy, moved Mark Peters, seconded by Jimmy Chen. Is there any discussion? Well, I'll put the motion in. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against, there any carried? And moving on then now to the most exciting part of our meeting, which is the elected members' information exchange. Debbie.
Yes, I'm just wondering, just two feedback follow-ups, just wondering how when we were talking about high density, which seems to be topic of huge conversation around the city and in our wards, we've already given feedback from our board via our submissions committee, although it wasn't deemed a submission, it was deemed feedback. We were told at the time that submissions will follow, the opportunity for submissions will follow. I'm hearing through the grapevine that that's now not going to take place. And we were told that submissions would follow pre-Christmas. So I'm just wondering, where are we at with that? Have we heard anything? Will there be an opportunity for the public to actually put in submissions along with our board? Are we?
I can answer that because I had a meeting with the planners last Wednesday. There's two options, and I met with the Riccarton Bush Kilmarnock Residents Association with about 3 planners. John Higgins was most senior planner. Basically, people can submit on the 4 to 6 stories. That's going to a hearings panel. But the 3 stories across Christchurch seems to be it. So on the 8th of September, notified on, I think, the 23rd, there's no further public input. So if you want to clarify that, Matt and Faye, but that's my understanding. We had a big ranging discussion on that.
My understanding is that it is going out for submission, but there's been a delay. So it was supposed to go out this month, I think.
It's going on the 8th.
I think sorry?
Well, on the 8th of September, it goes to council. It's notified on either the 23rd or 29th of September. And for the 6 stories, there's submissions. But for the 3 stories, there's not.
So clearly it's a matter of urgency, if those dates are correct, that you're presenting to us tonight, Helen, in order for us to do a submission and for the public to have notification of having the ability to put in a public submission as well, because there are many people that do want to have a say. Our our submissions committee no doubt will want to have a say, as does our council. Our council is also concerned about high density and the control of where high density should take place, especially in our Christchurch city, where we have concerns due to our earthquake
vulnerability.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So if we could have perhaps some urgent follow-up would be great, because we don't want to put Faye under too much pressure when it comes to submissions committee and putting forward.
It's going to be very awkward if that's the date for notification.
Well,
we'll have had our last meeting.
Well, exactly, which is why I just don't understand why we were told when we gave our feedback, which you will have those details, it was some time ago, that submissions were going to be made available. We were going to be in a position to make a submission, both as a board and from the community at large, because there is strong feedback from the community and they are waiting in line for the submission process to kick in.
And can I say it particularly affects Riccarton? Has got two issues. It's got the medium density, but it's also got the high density. So the high density people in Riccarton can submit further, but for Halswell, you've really got the medium density issue rather than high density.
No, you've got the high density around the commercial, around the commercial hubs,
yes.
as we have in Horn.
Yes, and so for Halswell, you're largely suburban subdivisions, and so I don't think you're going to have an opportunity.
Well, this is why I'm bringing it up now. If we could get some urgent follow up in regards to the feedback or the submission process going forward that we were told was going to happen.
So we were always told that the kind of 3 stories residential, what's it called, residential high density, it is not open to debate. So that's a government mandated policy, and that's not going to be consulted on further.
Not even for qualifying matter.
Oh, there's the
no, I don't think so.
Well, this is my point.
There's a microwave frequency issue as well with
yes, I think that's
there's going to be corridors
that's going to
within the CBD where you can't have the 6-story buildings because the microwave electromagnetic radiation won't be able to get through.
So this is my point, that if we meet a qualifying matter, being Christchurch and earthquake vulnerability, we may be in a position to control where intensification goes. But this is an opportunity that we can present. Well, we've already presented that in our feedback, but we're wanting to know when we can do that in a form of a submission. And any other member of the public who wishes to express feedback via a submission, I believe is really important. Due to the vulnerability of Christchurch.
We've been chopped out, really.
Yeah, and it's an important matter when it's only 5 cities in the whole of New Zealand. And anyway, so can I just have it confirmed that staff will get back to us ASAP on that?
Thank you.
At the earliest opportunity to make a submission.
There has been information coming out.
Okay.
I just can't.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Thank you.
But I will pass. Yeah.
Thank you, Faye. My second, and then I've got a third one very briefly. Just wondering, Matthew, have we got any feedback on Arthur Street, Hanson Lane corner?
Not as yet.
Okay. As I mentioned to Matthew a couple of weeks ago, because cars are parking there, people are letting the car tyres down because it's it's urgent that yellow lines go there.
Have you, when we chatted, I said to inform the police, have people been informing the police?
Why? So they'd tell on themselves.
When the tyres
if they're letting, I don't know who's letting tyres down.
So the people who's have had their cars
I don't know. Because
when you're speaking to them, it would be useful.
I'm not speaking to the people whose cars are being let down.
So you're speaking to the people who are letting tyres down.
No.
So how do you know about it?
I know from neighbours who who are familiar with the area and have noticed trucks coming along to pump up all the tyres because there's more than one tyre.
So when the neighbours notice people pumping up tyres, it'd be useful for the neighbours to know.
Sure, but that's not my inquiry. My inquiry today is just whether or not, if that's been hastened. I sent an email.
Know whether the yellow lines getting talked about stuff.
Well, I've sent it in months ago. So as we all know, I've sent the photographs in. And just my last one is Aidenfield misspelt sign. Andre and I both highlighted. Where have we gone with that? We either put a new sign in with it spelt correctly at the entrance on Aidenfield Drive. There's the long white stick that stands vertical that's spelt Aidenfield, D-E-N, not Aidanfield. So just wondering if that's, and also was that consented? Did that have a consent for that? Because that's actually on the berm, that sign. I did ask at the time in my email, had that sign been consented? And I would have to wonder if it was, because it's been misspelt and that it was actually planted on the middle of a berm, which could cause a health and safety issue. So just wondering where we're going with that, whether we replace it or just pull it out.
It's been annoying me for 15 years, I can tell you that.
So yeah.
So that's been noted.
Just to go back to the Arthur Street, I'm just looking at that email that I sent you, Debbie. So you raised it on the 14th of July. Oh, you raised it on the 12th of July meeting.
What's that for? The park?
Arthur Street.
Oh yeah.
Arthur Street. So they've got 90 days.
Okay.
So, but they are working on it.
Okay.
So 11th of October is the date of the 90 days, but we've flagged it for urgency.
Okay, thanking you.
I've had the same frustration when you ask for something and it's going to take 90 days, 3 months to get a response. It's a bit tough.
Can I say with Tony Marriott, we had a turnaround time of 5 days. I'm sorry to bring up the past.
Okay.
Five.
So anyway, moving on.
Sorry.
I've just got a couple of things. There's a site visit. We got a date for the site visit for Halswell.
No, they've not got back to me.
For what? For site visit for where?
To meet with Halswell about the drainage issues and stuff that we've talked about for weeks and weeks and months and months.
Oh, that one, right.
Kennedy's Bush Resident Association.
Sorry, last time we spoke, it was about a briefing, not a site visit.
Yeah.
Some of us been wanting a site visit, and that's what I believe that staff was suggesting.
Yeah.
That it'd be easier to explain if we were on site.
Sorry, I thought it was. Sorry for interrupting, Andre. I thought it was not just drainage; it was all about the transport and access in and out.
There's quite a lot of issues.
Yeah, so not just drainage; it's about the access. And I've been there. Getting to the quarry is becoming a bit of a problem,
especially when it's
cyclists, anybody walking.
Okay. So anyway, I've just asked a question.
Sorry, can I add to that? Because there's an issue around drainage, stormwater around that area is one that is very, very important to many.
Yes. Yeah.
That would, in my view, needs to be a briefing that needs to be publicly available. A site visit with board members, most of which are outgoing, in my view, wouldn't be that useful.
Most of which are outgoing. Name the outgoing ones.
Mike Mora, Jimmy Chen, Anne Galloway, Captain True.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
Yeah.
Right.
So a site visit with most of which are outgoing members isn't going to be particularly useful, whereas a briefing that is publicly available would be very useful because it would be very informative to a wider audience. So in my view, that's what needs to happen here. A site visit with this board, I don't see that being particularly useful.
Well,
doesn't mean we shouldn't do it, but we need a briefing.
We've got a lot of knowledge about the drainage issues in that area.
That's why we need you at a briefing that's publicly available. This needs to be publicly available.
Mike, you'll recollect anyway, we've spoken heaps about the drainage in and around that area.
I know.
And has anything happened?
Yeah.
A little bit.
Millions of dollars has gone into the stormwater basins.
Yeah, I know. I'm talking about the Bethany.
Would say
Bethany's all sorted.
And that's
totally.
So I went for a drive around there. Mike went for a drive around there on both of the high weather events. The money that's gone into the drainage has absolutely resolved that issue. from the last two events that we went to.
Oh,
compared to the one last year.
Improved it a hell of a lot, put it that way. And I've congratulated people on the.
Would have been good to. Oh, there's that round
at the council meeting last week.
That's fantastic.
Yeah,
I don't
because,
recall having feedback on
I
that.
just mentioned about the Eastman wetlands, and that was named after a council employee back in the day.
Right.
Now there's going to be 100,000 native trees planted in there, which is huge. People whistle and moan about some trees that are coming out during the formation of stormwater retention ponds and developments in the area. But 100,000 is the biggest single tree planting exercise in the country in one location, and that area is bigger than Hagley Park. So it's quite significant. And it's not only for growing trees, but it's for stormwater retention as well. So it's going to be. And I did say at the council meeting that through Helen and my involvement through the district plan review, we actually, how many times did I say a sponge is a sponge, and when a sponge is full and when the sink's full, you can't put any more water in it, Helen?
We kind of got there too, I think.
And we did. We got the stormwater, what they were planning for originally, that went to the independent hearings panel, and what we got was 3 times larger, virtually quadrupled the amount of stormwater detention systems. And remember that meeting we went to at the Halswell Hall?
Yes.
We went in there to, and it was about drainage and stormwater issues. And the council staff of the day told us to get out and ordered us out of the building. And we elected members were ordered out of that building. Now, how tough that?
We were. And this is the public meeting that you asked from.
Public meeting, yeah.
We get asked for that.
That's my briefing that's publicly available. But my
council staff ordered us out of the property. Otherwise, you're going to get.
My point is, this information and wealth of knowledge needs to be shared with the public rather than just amongst ourselves.
So going back to the briefing, I'd lined up a briefing, which we were going to record and make public.
Yeah.
I've deferred that date to try and get a date to get everybody on site. So, but what I'm hearing is a briefing is the way to go. So I'll see if I can get that date back.
I guess the point,
get the people there, and if we can do a site meeting as well, then that's the best of both worlds.
I guess the point I'm making, if we don't have information to be able to share publicly with the community, we've kind of wasted our time. To be honest, that's the public and community that want this information. So if we're not providing it to them, then
I go back to having a site visit, and that's what we used to have 100 years ago before the bureaucracy took over the organisation. As we would go and residents would come to us with an issue, we'd go into the service centre and say, hey, listen, we've got an issue here. And we'd go out and meet with people and talk about the issue, come back, and then staff would say, right, we need a report on this, or we're going to suggest this, or we will just put this in a funding for maintenance or whatever, and they'd write out a ticket and the job would be done overnight just about. So that's how simple it was. And it wasn't 5 layers of reports going through a council organisation to sign off on something quite simple that we have to do today. So anyway, so the Halswell visit is something that I just don't want to keep chopping and changing from a site visit to a briefing, because otherwise we keep bouncing the ball backwards and forwards and we'll miss it all. We'll be too late.
Yeah, well, it's our community that want information. So if we fail to give that information to the community in an accessible way, then we've totally wasted our time, in my view. Yeah.
Oh, well, we've taken it on board and we're still advocating for it on behalf of them. So we've taken it on board as elected members.
They want the information, and we've got the opportunity to make that information available on a YouTube video about stormwater issues in the Halswell area.
It's not just about stormwater. So
regardless the site visit is a total waste of time. The public can't
I agree. So when we do have that briefing, can we have like traffic management and pursuant to the development?
Don't look at me.
Yeah,
we need to do that as well. We need that as well.
I just want to make sure that we have all the right staff that we want at a briefing.
We won't be able to coordinate all of that and all of the information prior to it. So you've got a briefing coming up on traffic, on the some traffic issues in Halswell coming up. So I think that is the middle of, I don't know what day the next briefing is. I think it's the middle of the next month.
So this is the first we found out about that, Matthew.
Yeah. Well, your agenda's not been published yet.
What sort of traffic issues?
So it's looking at Halswell. It's looking at NZTA. Hopefully, we're going to get NZTA there at the same time and talk through some of those.
Is this going to be? Are we like Andre said? Is this going to be?
We'll record it. So we'll record it.
Yeah.
And then we will.
Well,
And then
I'm
we'll
not
have a
sure that-
discussion with all of the parties.
Yeah.
That in and around, and by the end of it, if we're all happy and we're going to put it out, then I'm quite happy to put it out.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
But sometimes, just to make the point around briefing, sometimes some of the things that you discuss need to be, because they might be talking to you around what they're planning to go out for consultation on. And so they want to.
Can we pause the live stream of the recording at that point, if that's the concern?
The message that I've heard loud and clear from the board on a regular basis is that you would like the briefings to be made as publicly available as is possible, but at the same time, there's a balance between kind of Chatham House rules, and so you want to be able to have the free and frank conversation.
Yep.
But sometimes when it's really useful information that can get presented, you want it to be presented. So we'll kind of walk that. So you've got a traffic one coming up.
And what date's that?
I think that you've got your community service awards. I don't think it's the 23rd.
That's going to be big.
I think it's the 13th of September.
Sorry, what's the 23rd?
That's my daughter's birthday.
You've got a briefing on the 23rd of September, but I don't think
email not sent
23rd of August. Sorry,
the email regarding.
Is it?
You haven't had the agenda yet.
Is that the Wallswell traffic one?
I don't know, but your next two briefing dates, you've got a date on the 23rd, and you've got a date on.
It's just been moved out to the 13th.
Oh, so it's the 13th. So nothing's been signed off from the team that are doing it yet.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay, car parks. And the other thing, that I did have a meeting with ECAN today. But I found out at 9 o'clock that the staff member I was supposed to meet with at 9:30 wasn't available. So anyway, so that was quite handy because I was in the car park at ECAN and didn't realise that I got it till I went into the building. But anyway, the staff member that came out, I showed them the video and all the information that I had on here about how the stormwater is discharged from the Awaka pit, who has not got a stormwater consent. And that's been the case for quite a long time. And I've also asked for the consent to do whether the Awaka pit or sudden demolition. I know it's live stream and complying with all the conditions of its resource consent. We've been asking those questions for years and we've never been able to get a straight answer out of staff at all. And Matthew, this has been going on and they're treating this as a 90-day thing, for goodness sake, when we just put a Lagoima in.
How many years?
And it's 90, we just can't, he can bounce back to me. All right, well, we're quite happy to meet with you, da-da-da-da-da. But our organisation,
How did it go, Dane?
It's on live stream, we'll get it later.
Anyway, so that's my information I wish to exchange before I get myself in any more trouble.
Seriously.
It's all right.
Yes?
We are sort of elected members exchange.
Yes, we are. Yes.
Just on the earthquakes, this meeting I had with John Higgins and the chair of the Riccarton Bush Kilmarnock Residents Association, I've got 4 points, and we've got more points in this, but we went over the earthquake issues, and my recall when I left council in 2013, that we'd all agreed, the public, central government and ourselves, to have 4 stories in the central city. That has gone. It seems as though it never got written into legislation. So they're now going to any height. And there's real issues, in my view, around earthquake suitability. Riccarton Bush, we were disappointed that they're not treating the bush as a bush area. They're looking at it as separate trees.
No,
they are. You talk to Tony Simmons. So in terms...
I'm the deputy chair of the Riccarton Bush.
We had Shona there as well. So Shona was online. So they're not, probably from a resident's perspective, they're saying, well, if your tree is distant from you, it's a tree that's distant, we're not seeing the bush as really important to actually protect. They don't look at heritage areas as precincts. So they're saying there's no heritage precinct, but I read in Hamilton, they've got 2,500 heritage precincts. So I put a question through to staff. Are you deciding on this, or is this government legislation? I'm not sure.
Good luck.
The trees, they seemed surprised when I said that, and this is trees overall, if you get a development, and say it's 2 houses, we've had one in Riccarton, which is very nice housing, but the developer could choose where to put the driveway, which means that trees on the property go. It also means on road reserve go if required. They seem surprised at that, but so I see a loss of trees throughout Christchurch. And talking about medium density, and this applies to Halswell and Hornby and Riccarton, I said, I don't quite understand this. And he explained, and if you take our house in Rata Street, we've got the house on a quarter acre. You can put 3 units on any section. So on our Rata Street property, you could put a 3-storied unit at the back and a 3-storied unit at the front. And Tony Simmons went over his property and there's less land and the same thing applies. So we're going to have 3 units of 3 stories on a lot of sections, which are quite small.
Up to 2.
I think it's outrageous, but
with little room for submissions from the public.
And just to go, if I could, to our motel owner who came in and is still here, could we express our disappointment that there seems to have been an attempt by staff, and we don't know which ones, to close the issue down? So now that's not a nice way of saying it, but can we say we are disappointed that staff have not actually looked further at options or brought the options to the board, even if they've said, look, we're at the end of our ability to handle this. It should really have come to the board.
Matthew?
Yes.
So let's not express anything in a minute, but let's go off and investigate.
Would you?
So
okay.
You've said investigate the options. We've heard that. We'll get the local traffic staff to come back to us and provide us with some advice on what's happened and what some of the options are. And then the board might say, well, we think that this is the best option to go forward.
Yeah.
And we'll take it on.
Are you able to raise it with John Gilsell or Mary that there seems to have been, and it's not the staff that you're accountable to, but it's the infrastructure staff is somehow. It seems an easy thing to solve to me. I mean, it may not be, but just seems a simple problem.
Well, the Ombudsman's looking into that still.
It just seems to me that I shouldn't close it down.
No. So tonight was the first time that we've heard around the issue as a community board.
Yes.
We'll progress it as a
okay. That's fine.
Before we get to.
Okay.
What's the Ombudsman looking into?
Oh, the functioning of the Christchurch Council has been since 2019.
Yeah, I support what Helen's just said too. To hear this has gone on.
Yeah, okay.
Concern.
Who else has got information? Andre.
Yes. In regards to the annual plan, so there were 515 submissions on the annual plan. 100 of those are about the Mill and Spark Sutherland Road intersection. Now, what council did is they responded to all 515 submitters. They sent an email out on July 22nd. They said, thank you for your submission. We appreciate the time and effort you've taken to provide comments and would like to share with you a summary of what submitters said and what decisions were made as a result. Please refer to the attached letter. The letter makes no mention whatsoever of the intersection that 1/5 of submitters on the annual plan submitted on, which is possibly an oversight. I'm not 100% sure what it is. Either way, I think it's in quite poor form. The 5-page document makes no mention of the intersection that 1/5 of submitters had submitted on. In fact, it doesn't actually mention the word intersection whatsoever. I just don't understand why council would fail to even make mention of that when they're taking the time to email all submitters. So
that's a good point, actually.
Well, I think it's quite poor. It does nothing to boost confidence in the consultation process or anything like that. A simple mention, a simple paragraph wouldn't have been much to ask for. So I guess what I'm looking for is we're able to just get a memo to our board on the outcome of that intersection. And I think council should also email that memo to the submitters because there's 100 people there who made a submission who've had no response whatsoever, which I think is really poor.
It is.
That's all from me.
Okay, thanks very much. And Mark Peters?
Yeah, I've got a few matters to raise here. First one I'll touch on is I've had an approach from a gentleman who is mobility challenged with a mobility scooter, and he has raised concerns with the path through the back end of Denton Park.
Yes.
And how it's basically destroying his mobility.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
He's got a ticket number, which I'm happy to pass on to staff to follow up, so we can get that path assessed for some action. Because having a mobility challenged person challenged like that is not acceptable.
It's an existing footpath that's damaged.
Through damage with tree roots and stuff. But anyway, it's an absolute trip hazard as well for everybody that's visually impaired.
Yes.
And of course, it's not a well-lit area at night, but it's open to the public at night. It's a thorough, well-used thoroughfare through there if you're on a four-wheel drive track vehical.
There's a footpath.
Yeah.
So presumably he did a snap sensor.
He did, and he's got the ticket number.
Send me the ticket number.
Yeah. Can I just add to that, Mark, that when I've sent them through either snap sensor or an email to council, I'll put urgent health and safety issue on the subject line, and it usually gets remedied pretty fast.
Yes, good. When you put it down as a trip hazard, health and safety, they tend to get very quick.
Exactly. So
okay,
so cool.
You got the Yes, you've got some.
I've got a wee list here.
Yes, no, that's fine.
I've had Kirk Road and Templeton raised to me as a concern, and we might be out with any advice from staff on heavy traffic movement is the biggest concern and causing vibration on neighbouring, not just houses, but actually streets.
Yes, it is.
And whether we can get some advice on where that's at, because that's been a problem for a long time, which the TRA and many have been.
I can give you a bit of history of that as well.
Yeah.
Just to do, in a nutshell, it's to do with the road was, when it was Trent's,
probably.
What do they call it? Chicory. Trent's Chicory Farm was out there, 100 years ago. They formed the roads like that just on, da-da-da-da-da. And as we know, those roads that are now very, very busy roads with more heavy vehicles than ever have never been built properly.
Such as Amy's Road as well.
There's a lot of them around. Yeah. So anyway, but it is a real concern because the traffic doesn't necessarily slow down a hell of a lot coming through Templeton, through the heart of Templeton.
No, and there tend to be big trucks too.
And there is very, very big trucks. And I've been in some of those houses there, on Kirk Road when the trucks have gone past. I've been out there and I've taken photos. We've been out there and got the staff out there to tune up, cut up some of the road and relay it. But unless you got your foundation right. But anyway, that is an issue, and I feel for the people out there.
Yep. The next question that's been raised to me is Wigram Skies, and we were at with the review of the effectiveness of the speed reviews and on the then ongoing remedial action that will hopefully be proposed from traffic engineers. So I've got residents out there who live in one of the was it Lady Wigram retirement village, and she's very concerned at the speed of traffic through there and is very, very keen to have this report back from traffic staff. So hopefully we get that.
I think there's one due, isn't there?
There is one due. So I have been speaking to staff about that. So
the Miles put his hand up as well. So
the staff are working, as I understand it, to develop a design layout kind of thing for the road signage and the speed signage.
Yep.
And once I've got that kind of finalised, I'll be coming back.
Yeah, okay, very good.
We'll learn from it before we move on.
We do, absolutely.
Exactly, that's what they're trying to get it right.
The next thing I've got on my list here is South Hornby School. I hear there's some near misses of a couple of pupils outside there at the crossing. And there have been requests from parents and whānau around this that they could perhaps have some investigation into whether a more formalised pedestrian crossing could be in place.
It is pretty formal.
Yeah, but such as a zebra crossing of some nature to help the children. And it's not the only place I've heard this as well. The other one I heard was in Wigram Skies at the runway. Like Andre's had.
What about Hornby Primary School?
Yeah, so
we had a 5 or 6 reasons years ago.
The runway, did you say?
Yeah, the runway's the other one that I've heard the feedback around as well.
That's the 30.
It's a 30, but people still home through there, and pedestrians feel like there's a crossing, but there's no marking.
Well, it's all going to 30 outside of schools very shortly.
Yep.
Do you know, Mark, if they've been dealing with the school travel advisors?
I'm not entirely certain on South Hornby School, no.
I'll ask.
That would be worth investigating too. Yep. There's also quite a large increase in crime happening around Hornby. People being in properties and jumping fences and breaking into vehicles. And, and there's been a fair bit of car enthusiast activity as well.
Yeah.
Just about every weekend night there's...
Not me.
It's not the beast.
Not till you retire.
So there's a huge increase, I think, in that as well. And I've had a number of people talking about that one, and we're seeing, disposed of tyres on the sides of streets where they've left them behind because they just burst.
A lot of stolen Toyota Aquas.
So is yours stolen?
Toyota Aquas. No, and I'm feeling very vulnerable with my Toyota Aqua.
Yeah. So
I've got the registration numbers of some of them sticking on my speedo, so I can't see how fast I'm going, but I'm looking for number plates.
So hopefully the safety meeting that we've asked for won't be too far away on that.
Yep.
And the final thing I'll mention is the notice of motion that I proposed for this meeting that was knocked back on for the review of the 151 Gilberthorpe's Road sale process to be halted, and then community to be re-engaged around the needs in the community for the use of that facility. So to make the rest of the board members aware, the notice of motion was knocked back. Staff did still agree to proceed with that re-engagement with the community to do the community needs assessment, and we'll come back with a report, I believe, to the council and board around that, so that we can review that.
Briefing, I think.
Just to follow, I'm aware that I'm just following up from that. I did meet with uninvited, but I met with Matthew and Sam and Bailey and
Satali.
No, was his name? Paul from the property unit yesterday on site, and we went through the buildings. Yes.
Is it possible for us to get access to the buildings for ourselves and some general public to?
The sign on the door says that the council buildings closed. The council have made a decision on it, but anyway,
that's what I was asking you before the meeting. So are you saying that there has been a decision made on that building?
No. That council made a decision to dispose of it. Council made a decision to dispose of it.
They have made a decision.
Yeah, they have.
Made
so there's no point in going through it then.
Yes, there is.
We need to. We've got the opportunity to have community needs assessment done, and then the briefing back to the council and board.
But if they've made the decision,
you can still go have it.
You're saying they haven't actually activated that decision?
They haven't activated it.
The council have made a decision, and the board and other members of the community have requested that the decision be put on hold, or the implementation of the decision be put on hold, and that there be a briefing back to council and the board around some potential options. So that's where we are. So what we'll do, it's not that I don't want lots of people to go through the site, but I don't want to be like a real estate agent taking people in and out. And I don't want to raise any expectations at the moment. But we'll see what we can do. If we go to an expressions of interest, for example, if it ends up going back out for an expressions of interest, then absolutely anybody that wanted to put an interest in would need to be able to get in and go through it. So let us work for a bit to work out what the next step is in the process.
Yep.
So it's on. So you're right. It's definitely on hold, and there's definitely a commitment to come back to the council as part of a briefing to say here are the next steps.
And I made some of my views known as well.
Is it a bit of a similar process as what's happening with Yoldhurst Memorial Hall? I know it's different.
So Yoldhurst Memorial Hall is, so Yoldhurst Memorial is slightly different.
Yeah, slightly different.
So they haven't made a decision to dispose of, but they have gone to an expressions of interest.
Right.
And we've had a group come back and say we're interested.
Yep.
So we're working through with them. At some point there will be a briefing or a report to the community board council. Depending on who the decision maker is on what the likelihood is.
Is that before the election? Or
well, I'm working with.
Yoldhurst is likely to be
new board,
presumably. Yeah.
No, well, I'm working with them now. Yeah, with the group.
It'll be.
I am.
But I don't think it'll be before September.
Well,
so just picking up on that, Gilberthorpe's Road, you're saying potentially a report or briefing to council. You'll presumably include.
Yeah, absolutely. So the commitment that was made was to include the community board and all of that. The reason that it's sitting with council and not the board is that the decision sits with council at the minute.
Yeah, but this one, my understanding, it's looks like it's impossible. It's
Jimmy,
before
sorry.
this term. Yeah.
I'm just feeling sorry for Gamal there. He hasn't had a chance to.
Thank you.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah, thank you, Mike. I just wanted also once again to back up what Helen was saying, and the owner of 306 and 6 hotel apartments. I really express my sympathy and full support, and we would really need to investigate the options, and we shouldn't close the door in front of the residents who are actually suffering, and they keep talking to the council, and we need to listen. We need to address this issue as soon as possible. The second thing is Pureri Street. I was there looking at the works the other day, and a few residents expressed their concerns that the work has been taking so long and causing disruption to the residents. And just wanted to update on this and when they are going to finish. And the third one is probably you have heard in the media that one of the white supremacists is standing for the school board in Linwood College, and we have lots of Muslim residents in Riccarton, and as this is a big concern for us. And what we came up with an idea that anybody who knows any people or any community who are in the there, to push people to actually vote, and because it's a voting online. So if people don't vote, then this person may actually get voted in.
Okay.
So he's the person who put the big head in front of the mosque.
Yes.
And also he put after the 15th of March terror attack.
Yeah.
He sent the video to a friend, and he wanted a count on the people's heads, and it's horrible. And he went to prison probably for 6 months, and is the college is in a proximity, is very close to the Linwood Islamic Center as well.
Linwood College.
Linwood High School.
Yes, it is. Linwood High School.
Is that on Alden's Road? Insalls Road?
Yep, Alden's Road.
So what we decided is that we don't comment on the media, because we don't want to give him name and fame. We all didn't want to comment on the media, because this is what they wanted, and filtrating the schools. Probably in the future, the army and the police, and it's quite alarming. In America, they do scrutinize these people and push them out of the leadership.
Thank you, Gamal. Thank you very much, brother. Thank you. One more from Helen.
Yes, just to follow on what Mark was saying about.
Oh, then there's Jimmy. Sorry.
About a notice of motion. Catherine and I put one in on Villa Maria College to do a traffic study, and that's quite a major project, but it got knocked back. So there seems to be a bit of a pattern being knocked back. And so can I urge anyone on council next, after the actual election, to look very carefully at this? When I was on council,
it's matter that the CEO decides on it. So if there's any issue, you've got to change the CE.
Water paper without going through.
Well, it used to be passed by the board first before it went.
And I don't mind ours being turned back.
Anyway,
but if it's happening for everybody,
just in
it's not good.
I can't comment on the Villa one, but I can comment on the one that Mark put through, because I dealt with that the other day. The reason that it was declined is because we achieved the outcome without it needing to come to the board.
Oh, okay.
So had that outcome not been on the cards, there would have been no reason to turn it, but the outcome was achievable. Okay. So we didn't need to discuss it.
Okay. And with our one, I think
it was similar with the Villa one, actually, Helen.
we did get a study undertaken.
Yeah.
Yes.
What was the outcome?
That's right, because they came to the, there was a public forum, wasn't it, to the board, and that was the outcome.
All I'll say was that the outcome was still bouncing around for a little bit afterwards, wasn't it, Matthew?
Achieved, isn't it?
Hey?
It's achieved.
Hope so.
It's achieved.
Yeah.
Watch this space.
Yes. Yeah, so just watch it, the incoming councillors.
Yes. Okay, anybody else want to exchange any information? Jimmy,
Okay.
of course you do.
Yeah,
brother.
okay, yes. The first one, last week, the particular Mike may raise those 151, 53 the property, because this one I engaged with the head of the property estate, Bruce.
Yes, you do.
He mentioned during the informal meeting we raised this year. So Leanne asked why, because no this issue, but Bruce very good. He particularly mentioned before is focus on the Golden F, but this one should be a separate issue.
Absolutely.
And the combined community board and council the briefing bring to the council again. But I engaged with Bruce. He particularly mentioned now the community staff, they have an investigation, like you mentioned earlier. But it's highly possible bring to the council community board meeting during this time period. It's the election time period. It's impossible before election. Probably the following the election, they will bring to the council. That's the first one. Second one, I remember last week when you present, I asked whether community board consider invite the police, the officer whether can come to the community board, present to us before we have all kind of safety issue, Halswell-Hornby or the all this one,
Yeah,
whether
so
can come.
that's what we're in the process of doing now.
Yes.
Sam and Bailey have got that in hand. So that's being organised.
Okay.
And we've got a list of people that are on the contact list for that. So that's in hand.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So I've handed it over to our staff to do exactly what we wanted. So hopefully that is happening, isn't it, Matthew? And
Bailey was in touch with the local constable the other day. And if you go into her desk, you'll see his card is on her desk.
Okay. Last one is particularly regarding the process.
What was her name?
No, Brad.
Process, I remember before the staff, they have presentation of council, the process, and once the council, meeting to agree, make decision for the notified plan changing. Then in that time, all the repair of property, whatever is received later from the council staff, then particularly given 20 working days, people make submission. I'm not sure. I don't think so. Every repair received because not yet, council not yet. But before the original time is on 11 August, but now it's probably you are right. They postpone to the 8th of September.
That's right.
But I don't know. So all those processes will be further delayed, but still eligible to make a submission. Every the repair and the property owner.
Yes. Actually, as a board, we'll have to do it before we finish.
Yeah. That's right.
Is it to do
with the high density?
Yeah, that's why I was stressing that before. We need to know in a couple of days.
We can't do it before it's notified, though.
But it's notified on the 23rd or so, and then there's a
last meeting. The board's last meeting is the 20th.
We'll work out a process.
We'll have to work out a process. It'll have to be before we leave, or before we get really.
I had an email from somebody who's observing from live stream who seems to think and confirm this because we didn't have the dates before that their submissions are opening the 23rd of September to the 24th of October.
That's it.
And that's only for but it's going to council on the 8th.
The council hasn't decided it yet.
We'll confirm the process.
After it's been to council, they'll notify it, but the final hasn't been.
The sign-off's the 8th.
Well, isn't that back to front? Because usually it goes through a submission process and then council make a decision. But what you're saying here is
no. They're approving the draft. The draft.
They're approving the submission process.
So they'll put out a draft.
And then they'll go out.
The draft will go out for submissions and then it'll be.
Because appeal with the, public consultation, there's a pre-engagement. It's not a formal, the notified consultation. There's a difference.
So you're saying it may not happen before.
We'll find out a process.
But we're still.
Okay, I'm just looking at the time.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, okay, and Mark, you've got another final one?
Just one last one, came up out of Jimmy's mentioning of the police. I've been asked by members of the public whether our board could look at writing a letter to the police requesting the reopening of our Hornby station.
You didn't watch the live stream of my presentation to the council the other day, did you?
No. Everything's sort of like that. But there was a serious request from a member of the public. Is it possible for our board to write a letter to say,
yes,
could we please see the reopening of the station?
Is that what you were asking at the council meeting?
Would you want the station staffed by police officers?
I would think so.
Or do you just want it?
Preferably police officers, but if it has to be
prior to Mike Glendale retiring, then the office was manned by authorised officers, which are virtually temporary constables waiting to go into police college. So what I did, somebody made a slip of the tongue, didn't they, at the council meeting?
Unsworn staff are better than no staff.
Would you say
so,
Mike?
and just staff.
Council meeting?
Oh, well, I said I'm in that position. I might be able to help out beyond the counter. So anyway.
So I would just like to add to that suggestion, Mark, that Hornby's growing too, commercially, etc.
Oh, it's very important that we get that office manned.
Well, exactly, and it was manned by actual policemen.
Oh yeah, that was
one of our board members, and so.
Oh yeah, no, yeah.
No. Do we know why it's not manned?
Because police have staff out on the streets dealing with things rather than sitting behind desks.
Yeah, but they've increased the police force, haven't they?
Oh, hell yes.
Yeah.
I mean, but that
still need more.
It's just not enough, is it?
Still playing catch up, really.
No. So anyway, we'll so we'll get a letter sent away on behalf of the board to see if we can get that police station manned.
Thank you, team.
I'll volunteer.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
If there's no further business, declare the meeting closed. Thank you very much for your patience, your endurance, and your understanding of each other's points of view.
Thank you.
Catherine.
Thank you very much. Kia ora. Bye.
Good